Oh, you, please, your name. That's okay. Monsieur Daniel Bidet, coordinateur de 01 Marché informatique. Monsieur Dan Thomas, de Créative Stratégie. Son épouse, Madame Johnny Selvin, qui travaille pour une chaîne de télévision. Daniel, qui travaille pour le Chronicle, le journal Le Chronicle.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Et puis Alain Renaud du quotidien du médecin.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Et Marc Usan qui travaille pour l'agence économique et financière, Usine Nouvelle, etc. etc., etc. Et Madame Sonia Azé qui travaille pour le journal français d'Amérique.
Being in America for this meeting, I thought that it would be good for me to pay some visits to some colleagues and to have contacts with labs here. And I decided to come this time to California, and I spent 1 day in South California and 2 days in North California. Amongst institutions I visited are GPL, Proportion Laboratory, University in San Diego, Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, and this afternoon I visited Berkeley University. And I must say that I have been very happy with these visits, and it was for me an opportunity to see how efficient and effective are our relations between France and America, and how many young French are working in this lab, and how far we are cooperating in important programs as well as in space or in human genome or other fields also in which we have a strong cooperation. Well, my hope is really, and I had also today a lunch organized by the Franco-American Chamber of Commerce, and it was for me an occasion to explain what we are doing to enhance scientific and technical programs in Europe. I try to explain what are the means we have to have a better cohesion between the countries in Europe, and what we are doing to push programs in science and technology in common in the 12 countries forming the community. That are the main frame of my visit to United States this time. I have a look on this papers. Well, if I may give some impressions I got from this visit, of course I have been confirmed in the idea that really in California you have very prominent scientists and very good labs, no doubt. And it's a pleasure to see that the quality of research in this country is at the highest level as it has always been. I had also, and I said it, a confirmation that the relations between our institutions in France and the universities or the big labs in California are strong and efficient. This afternoon in Berkeley we discussed about the program of cooperation between this university, Berkeley, MIT, and what we call in France la Conférence des Grandes Écoles. Conférence des Grandes Écoles, that is a kind of federation between all the institutions which in France are forming engineers. And, this is for us very important because we have a lot of very gifted young people in this grandes écoles, and for us it's very important to give to those young girls and boys an opportunity to make exchanges when they are still students in their special establishments. And I'm just coming back from a exploratorium. It happens that the new director of the exploratorium is a French colleague, Monsieur Goéry de la Côte. He was formerly in charge of communication at CNRS, Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique, and at this reception in Exploratorium I met a lot of young French people who are spending 3 months, 6 months, 1 year here in the diverse facilities you have in California. And they explain to me what they are doing, and I'm sure that it's quite an experience for them. Well, concerning exchanges of people, and especially young people, postdocs, I think that the situation is good, but it may be improved if we could have in Europe, and especially in France, more young Americans to prepare a doctorate thesis or for working, let's say, 1 year after the doctorate as a postdoc. I think that the reciprocity is not yet quite satisfactory, and I'm sure that it's a lack of information, because it's clear that we have on the continent a lot of very good labs, and it's so important for young scientists to have such periods of changing the place where they are working, that if they had better information about what is happening in Europe, I'm sure that the flux could be entirely weighted. If that's the case, for example, we have a very good balance of exchange in the exchanges in the field of particle physics, high energy physics. Due to the fact that everybody in America working in this field knows about CERN, which is a big institution running big instruments in Europe, grouping all the big countries in Europe, and we are welcoming about 350 American scientists at CERN, exactly the same number as is the number of European scientists in this field working in America near your big accelerators. So it's quite equilibrated, and I think that it's an example which has to be followed, and I hope very much that in other fields we can get this kind of equilibrium. I would say that in most countries in Europe, if not all, we consider research and technology as a priority, and the diverse states, and particularly France, is doing a lot to regularly increase means which are at the disposal of our colleagues in science and technology, and I think that qualitatively in practically all the fields of science we have some labs which are really at the top level in the world, and the fact that we have increased quite a lot exchanges inside of Europe between our countries in Europe has been in a new fact, I must say, since about 10 years, and I hope very much that more and more our American colleagues will know about it, and will have more, I would say, appetite to come and stand with us longer and more often. Will come more often and for longer periods. Well, that are some remarks I had to say. Well, concerning the meeting with Alan Bromley and our colleagues tomorrow and on Sunday, what's the program? It's quite clear. It's to debate about the means to enhance international cooperation, a better use of, a better common use of big facilities we have in diverse countries. I spoke about high energy physics accelerators. I can speak about space facilities, or now big programs like, let us say, cartography and sequencing of human genome. We have in every field, and not only in the traditional fields where science is very costly, for example, space and particle physics, but also in medicine, in biology. More and more we have big international programs, and we must look at the best manner to have exchange of people and cooperation in that. And of course, it's not so easy to have this cooperation which with a good participation of all the countries, including Japan and now Eastern countries. And this is another point we can discuss, how to reconstruct our relations, scientific and technical relations with countries from Central and Eastern Europe. We in France have done a lot of effort to make possible some stays in France of colleagues coming from USSR and from Central Europe. Since 1 year, we have offered about 300 fellowships or facilities to these countries, and I must say that we had a lot of demands coming from USSR and from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and so on. And this is really a pleasure to have again such open relations with them. But it's, as you know, a very common problem we have to face in United States, in Europe, and it's good to have discussions. And the fact that we will have with us Mr. Ossipian, who is one of the vice presidents of the USSR Academy of Science tomorrow is a very good thing, and we can look with him how these things are going on. Well, this is also a problem which can be discussed at this meeting, is the fact that, as I said, more and more we are conceiving our scientific actions in Europe as a common action. Of course, each country has its own profile and its own government, no doubt, and it will be so for a long time still. And but the fact that we have common actions in Europe makes the relations with United States, for example, a bit different, and we must explain what we are really doing, what is the importance of this community in Europe. Very often when I meet American professors or scientists responsible of big institutions, scientific institutions in this country, they are asking me, but what is the situation now? Does France still exist? Or who is our counterpart in Europe? Is it you, French minister, or and the German minister, and British minister, or is it the representative of the Commission? And we have to explain what is the balance and what is the role of the community, a role which is growing progressively, and we are very happy of that. But of course, France is France, Germany is Germany. Germany is more Germany than ever. I mean, it's only one. And Great Britain is has also its own peculiarities, as you know probably, and so on. Well, looking to my colleagues, okay, some other aspects. Well, an aspect on which I could say just some words about technology in Europe. Probably in America, scientific aspects of our activities in Europe are very well known, but the technology is perhaps not so well known, and I must say that we are really now in certain fields, I think, in a very good shape in the world concerning technology. For example, for rapid trains, no doubt that France is really ahead in the world. Of course, there are rapid trains in Japan too. Not so rapid, not so comfortable. Why not, right? Yes, we are very proud of our trains in France. Well, that's the point. We are building very good planes, aeroplanes in Europe. And, very good, with a strong component in France. For example, the Airbus. And, it's very interesting and very rewarding for a Frenchman when he's coming in America to see on practically all airports now. Some, not all planes are Airbuses, but some. There are practically no airport now in the United States where you cannot see at least one Airbus. Well, aeroplanes, it's a good technology in Europe. When we are speaking about space activities, of course, we are not competing with the shuttle as a means for manned transportation, but for putting commercial satellites in space. I'm happy to say that we are very proud of Ariane, with which we are launching more than half of all the satellites which are commercially launched in the world. And that was not so easy to start with it, I can ensure that. I could just tell you a short story of the boss of NASA. I was in charge of space in my country and in Europe during 8 years, so my heart is still in space. And one day, that was in '76, I was a real freshman in space in Europe, and I had the visit of the boss of administrator of NASA, a very nice man. And when we discussed this and that, and I explained to him what we were doing, and at the very end of our discussion, we went to the restaurant and we had a good dinner, I must say, good wine. And at the very end of the dinner, he started calling me by my Christian name, and I understood that we were really good friends, and he had something not so agreeable, not so pleasant to say to me, and that was the case. And he said to me, well, with your project Ariane, you are foolish. You are spending a lot of money on that. What a mess. Took this money, put it in one of our ventures, and you will make benefits of it. And well, for a small Frenchman, even a European responsible, hearing that from the big boss of the big NASA, that was a bit difficult to. And I had a very bad night. Dinner. But I did not change anything in my program. And well, 15 years after, we proved that we were right. So I have the biggest admiration for NASA, and I have so many friends in NASA, no doubt that it's extraordinary, but it does not mean that NASA means space in the world. European can do too. Well, a bit patriotic for my country, excuse me. Well, perhaps you have questions?
Yes. I produce a very small television show where we talk about news from a European perspective. And I think you would be happy to know that we did a show this past year on nuclear power.
Yes, that's a field in which we are
particularly
working.
oriented to France specifically. And we also just did a show at the end of December on high-speed rail systems where we really portrayed the French rail system very clearly. Do you feel that you get enough exposure as a European country in the media in the United States?
Well, I'm not really acquainted with American TV. What I can say is that concerning French TV, it's a catastrophe. They practically never speak about technology, I mean seriously, about science and technology. And we started to push the channels to have more scientific programs. It begins to increase, but it's not really not sufficient in our country. That's not the case in the UK. British TV is much more oriented toward education, science and technology as French one. But I'm sorry, I have no idea of what you can do on American TV. But I'm very glad to hear that you spoke about TV.
Very little. I hope it's very little that you get on American TV.
You have to fight to get sometimes on the TV to put.
Well, we're such a little tiny program that we just deal with it on a community level. So we are not on a national level.
President Bush has announced recently that there will be a new program for clean energy and for a substitute to oil.
Yes.
This program will include, I understand, some nuclear development. Since France has quite an edge in that area, are you taking contacts? Are you trying to promote the French nuclear industry here?
Yes, of course. We have very good contacts with DOE here. I paid a visit. I cannot do that this time, but last time I came 6 months ago or something like that, I paid a visit to the workings and I spoke about our program concerning atomic energy. Of course, our specialists in atomic energy are knowing each other very well, as you know. We in France are probably the country in which the proportion of electricity made out of nuclear plants is the highest in the world. And we are quite happy with that. But of course, it creates duties to the French government in order to be sure that all the safety all the research concerning the safety of these plants are made, and we have a very important program concerning these reactors. We are defining new kind. We are studying the possible new kind of reactors for the future with a safety which will be still higher. And well, I don't know that we have any kind of difficulties with our American colleagues about it. And now we have a cooperation with the specialist in USSR, where I must say the safety conditions of the plants were not so high, and now they want really to have a new generation of plants with much higher safety. And we are speaking about energy production. There is a program which is really international called ITER, ITER, which groups countries in Europe, United States, Japan, and USSR in order to define the next generation of production of energy by fusion, not fission, fusion. And the first, this program started about 5 years ago. We are arriving at the definition of what we call phase 2. This is also certainly a point we will discuss with Mr. Bromley tomorrow. How fast we are going. We are not in a hurry. We do not really need to push this program too fast, because production of energy is, well, in most countries now, if not satisfactory, the demand of new plants is not so high, and anyway, the system for fusion is asking more and more research in order to understand exactly what are the conditions and what are the rules for building such plants. So I think that we will continue this ITER program, but not to rush, especially in this program.
You mentioned a lot of different areas in which you cooperate with the United States in technology. One area you didn't mention was computers and information technology.
Yes.
Is this a area in which there's an interest in cooperation? Is it something that can be done at a government level, or is it really much more a commercial enterprise?
Well, I must say it's more commercial. We have quite a cooperation of our industrialists, and well, I must say that I met yesterday and today many scientists and engineers involved in this kind of activities. A lot of them are French people, Frenchmen and Frenchwomen, and they have close contacts with French companies, especially for software. And in the labs, we have a lot of young French scientists working in connection with laboratories here in California. So I think that on the scientific aspect, for the scientific aspects, and especially for software, the situation is not bad. Concerning hardware, it's more complicated because the situation concerning computing industries is changing very rapidly. Some time ago, what was very important was to build very big computers. Now the things have changed a lot. It's essential to be on the market with smaller computers, with good connections between them, and in all the countries around the world, the industries are changing, and it's for many industries, not only in Europe, a difficult time, very difficult time, and where people are trying to work together in the best conditions, but it's not.
Ah bon, vous avez un peu de tout. Hein.
Statue égyptienne, c'est connu.
En tout. Ok, nous avons maintenant avec nous deux représentants de la Tunisie, ce qui est très très rare ici à San Francisco. Et donc c'est Nabil